Hi everybody, good afternoon. This is Jean here, Jean Truelove. I'm working on my row along with Jean quilt, my row by row quilt. You can see my playlist for all of the details on how I've gotten to this point so far. My last row was my churn dash, which dozens and dozens and dozens of you noticed my mistake. But it was only Gina who actually told me so. That's so funny. I'm keeping it as it is. Perfection is overrated, as we say. So I'm working on this, my flower row quilt, my tulips, okay? I've done my tulips, and yet today, I am going to be doing a sunflower applique for beginners, okay? Mustn't shy away from it. I hope you embark on doing this if you've never done it before. I'm not doing a professional or a true applique, which is like a needle turn. You can use glue, you can use the fusible web, which I have chosen to do. So this tutorial to come is for my two little sunflowers and my tulip row block. Okay, now maybe you are saying, well, I don't like tulips. I don't like tulips. I don't like butterflies behind me. I had made this quilt ages ago. I'll take some pictures of it. My butterfly. This was an actual pattern from a book about 20 years old that I had made this about 15 years ago, this applique. But if you don't like butterflies or tulips or sunflowers, I show you how you can just Google an image or go to Pinterest. Now, I know some of you don't have Pinterest, but it's a really, really good source of images. Extremely simple, what are called vectors, just a silhouette of something. So if you don't like my sunflowers or you want to do something different between your tulip blocks, I have here something I literally put a piece of paper, you've seen me do it before, up to my computer screen, and say you want a simple star. That's it. Just a star. Cut your fabric out. Adhere it to the fusible web. Or say you want a heart. You just want a simple heart design. Very, very simple to do. Or maybe you like the moon and stars look. Moon and stars. I just literally copied that off of the computer, the vector. Or this is real sweet. This is real sweet. Say you love your puppy dogs or your little kitty cats. Just paw prints. That's just 5 little appliques that I show you again in depth how to do. Maybe instead of a paw print, you actually like a silhouette of a cat or a dog, which they have dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Looks a little bit hard, but this one, again, this is a silhouette of a giraffe. Very simple. Adhere your adhesive to it and then cut it out. Now this, you don't have to be doing a quilt block. You could just do this on a pillow, a small little pillow. And again, this is a little bit different. I had a pattern for this one, but there is a simple butterfly vector that I got off. Whatever you are inspired by, and as you will see, I was inspired by something in my sewing room that I'm going to show you for this row here, for this tutorial here, that I am making my sunflowers, oops, and my tulip row. And then I added, of course, my rickrack. And I show you how I sewed the rickrack on, because some people didn't know how to do that. I used jumbo rickrack and a medium rickrack for the stem. But I thought that was real pretty. So I do hope you enjoy this tutorial. Again, it's a little bit lengthy, but I really do go into detail on how to make this. So don't shy away from it. Even if you don't want to do, if you just want to do one for a little pillow or maybe just a little mug rug or something, don't get discouraged with it because it's fun and it's quite easy. I did use my computerized sewing machine for my decorative stitch. I used a decorative stitch on here because this is raw edge, but again, I show you how to do that. But I'm quite sure that that's going to wash up beautifully. I did interface the back panel of here, stabilize it, I should say. But again, I show you step by step. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial, folks. And again, thank you very, very much. If I make a mistake, don't point it out to me. I'm sure, actually, I would have never seen my mistake. Isn't that the funniest thing? Gina saw it, and a million of you saw it, but you're all so polite not to tell me. Thank you, Gina, for having the guts to inquire. Did I intend to do that? Of course I did. All right, folks, have a lovely day. Hope you enjoy the video. Bye-bye. So I am working on my row along with Jean quilt, which is a row by row, as you can see, blocks in different sizes, 6, 9, 12 inch, and then some sashing that I've done the last few weeks. Now what I'm going to be doing this video is I'm concentrating right here on this area here. And I think I'm going to be doing an applique, a very, very, very simple applique. Now, as you know, I'm just sewing things together and hopefully they're going to come up the right size. But if they don't, as I can see, I measured this row here, and that's 49 inches, my churn dash. That row of checkerboard sashing is 49 inches. I can make my tulips and my applique 49 inches, but my pinwheels are about 48 inches. I don't know. And then that one is, my checkerboard is about 49 inches. However I'm going to put it, if my pinwheel blocks or my pinwheel row is too short, I'll just add a little tiny bit. I'm not bothered about adding a little tiny bit of filler to make my rows. I'm not, as you know, I'm not tremendously exact in my quilting, which is absolutely fine for me. I'm not bothered if I have to add a little bit there or a little bit there, or if I was even bothered, I would open up that seam and maybe add a little bit of sashing like I had done up on my churn dash. But I'm not going to do it. I'll probably just add a little hunk there if I need it. If I need it. When I go to sew all this together, I'll figure it out. But right now, I'm going to be concentrating on this area right here. Hopefully you can see this. I have cut out a piece of my script fabric, okay? That's the background fabric that I've been using. But as from a distance, again, it reads as white. Now, I've cut this piece out. As you can see, it's just up on my piece of flannel here. I've cut this piece out about an inch bigger all around, okay? It's about an inch bigger all around. Obviously, when it goes in the seams, it will be the 1/4 of an inch right there. But this is my applique background that I'm going to be working on. So as you know, I'm sitting in my chair in my sewing room. This is the my little shelves behind. And I was thinking here of an applique. I was thinking, oh, how about a truck? that's an actual peel and stick iron-on applique. That, if you wanted to do, it'd be awesome. Already done. Really, really sweet, really cute. But then I'm thinking now I'm going to try to do a very, very simple applique. And I thought, where can I be inspired? And look what I just thought. These are my pretty Amazon dead cheapo curtains for my little window here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of them. And I'm looking at, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a sweet little sunflower. Now I'm also looking at leaves and fencing and butterflies. Well, that right there, either that butterfly or that sunflower right there. Now I know you guys have seen me do this before in order to get a very simple design off of the internet. What I'm going to do in my, make this a bit bigger. As you can see, tons and tons of images for free vectors, silhouettes. I think what I want is a very simple silhouette. Okay, would perhaps be something like this one, okay, which is has all of the little bits in there, all sorts of, oops, right there. So would have all of the leaves, the center, and then all the back leaves there. I'm not necessarily bothered with something that complex. So I quite like this one right there. You see that? Now when you look at that, that looks like a sunflower. Okay, that looks like a sunflower. Or this one down here looks like a sunflower. Right there, also. That one looks like a sunflower. Maybe I quite like those little dashes, but I don't know. For a beginner, I think that one right there is just lovely. Now, so if it wasn't the right size, you can always make it bigger. And then I'm just going to trace. So there, right there, is my sunflower that I'm going to be using as a pattern. So what I have here is a piece of cardboard that actually has come off of a fat quarter. You could use anything, bit of comic board card or a tissue box or a cereal box, any piece of cardboard. Now this is my very rough drawing because I was doing it shaky of my leaves, and as you can see, I have there's how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 of these leaves and a circle, and that's all. So I'm going to take my best leaf right here. Which one is my best one, say? I think this one is. And I'm going to cut that out, just like that. And there is my little pattern for my leaf. Okay, I'm just going to put that on my board there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace that onto my little piece of card here. So I just have, I'm going to be making 15 of these leaves. I'm going to cut that out. I have a pair of paper scissors, and here's my cardboard template for my very, very simple sunflower. Okay? And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with my circle. So I have my leaf and my circle here. I'm going to keep this as reference for the 15 that go around here. Now, an applique can be however fancy or however fantastical you would like it to be. But since I have these in my fat quarters that I'm using, and it's going to be a yellow and a brown sunflower, I'm very happy that I have these shades of yellow, and then I have a couple shades of brown I'll use for the circle. So it's obviously going to be a very, very simple applique. Now you might be thinking, well, that's just a small applique on a fairly large piece of fabric here. I might actually do 2 of them. I'm going to actually see what it looks like, and maybe a little bit of a rickrack stem. I'm going to see how that goes. I'm going to be cutting out, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll be cutting out 3 from my 5 different fabrics each. Just 3 little things so I can stagger them around, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I will be showing you how to use this applique method here. This is called Heat and Bond Light. Okay, and this is an iron-on adhesive. Okay, and it's sewable. And it's great for lightweight fabrics and machine applique, all right? So this is permanent, no steam required, machine washable. So what this is that most people do use for applique, it's a paper-based product, okay? As you can see here, there's paper on one side. This is paper. I can write on there. And that's a sticky glue on the other side. Just a little knobbly glue. You've seen me use this tons of times before. So what you would do when you're doing an applique, I would then take my pattern like this, and since the pattern is exactly the same, there's no reverse. You don't have to worry about this bit being reversed, because sometimes if your pattern is, your applique is directional, you have to do it reversed, as it were. But we don't have to worry about this with this very simple sunflower if that's what you're doing. So what you would do is you would trace out 15 of these. Now, since we were doing, say, 3 of each color for me, I'll be doing 3 like that. Oops. I would cut this out. So now what I have is I have 3 pieces of this on paper with the glue side. So why I'm doing 3 is I'll be doing 3 of this fabric, 3 of that fabric, and so on to make my 15 leaves here. So what you do is you take the reverse side of your fabric and you would just iron on the paper side right there. You just iron that on, and then the glue side sticks to the fabric, the back of the fabric. So I've ironed on my leaves, and then with a nice pair of sharp little scissors, I'm just going to cut out all of my leaves, my 3 of 5 different fabric leaves. So I have all of my petals here, but I have, as I was showing you before, I have my piece of fabric here, which is a little bit bigger. Now I think I'm going to be doing 2 of my sunflowers. I'll have to see. But the first thing I have to do is, you can see this fabric is fairly thin, okay? And when we're appliquing anything, what we want to do is we want to stabilize the back of our fabric, okay? Because when we're doing a stitch, your stitches, even if you're doing a satin stitch very, very much, which I will demonstrate, or if you're doing a blanket stitch, or if you're just doing a raw edge stitch, the stitches will sort of crease up your fabric, just little tiny minuscule, and then you'll get a puckered effect if you're just doing it on one piece of fabric. So what I have here is I have a very lightweight fusible interfacing. Now again, this is a very lightweight. This is the one I actually used on my hanky to stabilize it, my hanky pillow. As you can see, it's very lightweight, but it will just add that little bit of stability to my otherwise thin fabric. So 2 thin pieces of fabric will equal 1 fairly decent size, substantial bit of fabric. So again, this is a lightweight interfacing, which this is a cloth side and this is a gluey side, okay? So what I want to do is I want to put my fabric, my wrong side of my fabric, to the gluey side of the interfacing, okay? Or you can use a stabilizer, but I like this interfacing. It's fine. I don't know if that'll, oh yeah, that'll pretty much fit actually. Yeah, oh, look at that. That comes off the bolt that wide, and I've done this. So I'm putting the wrong side again to the gluey side. Now I'm just going to cut that off, like so. Just roughly, I'll cut that off, and then I'm going to go over to my ironing board, and as you can see, it's still a little bit see-through, but it's much more substantial. And then once we have the batting, it'll be the same exact of the other blocks that we have, just a little bit more substantial. And when I'm going to applique it, it'll be much nicer there. So I'm just going to go over and I'm going to iron on this iron-on interfacing. So I have my pattern here that I had cut out different fabrics, and I've made 2 sunflowers here. But what I was looking at is the original circle for my sunflower was a little bit small, and it also, my pattern had some white showing, and I don't love that. I was looking at a real sunflower, and it actually has the big center fairly large, a little bit larger, and then the petals obviously right up to the middle part, whatever that's called. So I had made this one a little bit smaller, but I made the 2 a little bit larger. And what I'm going to do now is I like that right there, making sure again this is a little bit bigger. So there, I'm going to cut this down, this bit here, which has been stabilized. So I like that right there, and I like that there. And what I'm going to do now is very, very carefully, I'm going to peel away the backing of my little flowers here, my little leaves, my petals. I'm going to peel that away, and it's not sticky, but it will adhere to my backing right here. And then so I'm here at my little ironing board next to my sewing machine. I have this little tiny little iron, which is really very, very good for projects like this. Now what I have done is, if you're going to be doing the sunflower thing, whatever applique you're going to be doing, you want to be able to position it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click in a little bit closer here to show you what I'm doing, is I have taken off all of the papers off of the back of this little sunflower leaves, okay? And because I've made my center a little bit bigger, like a sunflower would be, I've not taken the paper off of the brown. I've taken my paper off, and I'm just making sure that this circle around here, all of these little lines create this nice circle. I'm just waiting to make sure that the points of my flower leaves are pretty symmetrical. And then I'm going to pick up my iron, and because there's glue on the back side of that, I'm just going to let my iron melt that glue. Just gently. I certainly don't want to be ironing. I'm just pressing that applique fabric down. And I'm going to concentrate on sewing this one sunflower on. And then when I'm done, I will put that little brown bit. Oh, I think it's so pretty. And then I'm going to be ready to applique my sunflower leaves onto my background. But the first thing I want to do is I've changed my machine. I have changed my Juki straight stitch mechanical machine to my Juki QVP Pro, which is a computerized stitch, which now this machine has the capability, let me show you here, of all of these different stitches. Okay, so I've programmed in the stitch that I want, which is a blanket stitch, a small blanket stitch. I really quite like a small, because this is on a smaller scale, a small blanket stitch. I had tested one there and one there, and I had made sure that my tension on my new machine is all correct, as it is. And I'm going to do another test. I have this, remember I had that small bit of applique, how I'm going to be appliquing my sunflower on. I will have done my leaves individually, and then I'm coming onto my little round bit here. I'm going to put my needle down. Now my blanket stitch is on the outside going in, the outside going in, the outside going in. So I'm going to just check to see if this is working. Now when I'm doing a circle, hopefully you can see this, I'm just moving this absolutely incrementally, just around the circle. Hopefully my outside stitch will be on the out raw edge. I got a little bit off there, so I'm just practicing that I can get my little outside stitch on the edge of my applique. Sunflower petals here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the middle of my sunflowers, and I'm just going to go down. They're sort of on top of each other, sort of layered on top of each other, one after another, or they're next to each other. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to just try to catch all of the little raw edges of my petals. So I'm going to start here, and it's a small stitch. Just go slowly. I'm starting from the middle end to the end of my point. I'm going to leave my needle down, and I'm going to pivot. Take this away. Maybe just one more stitch or so to the point. There we go. I keep reaching around but this is my computerized machine. I just have to push the button, and then I'm just going to come back. I'm not real particular exactly how, it's stitched perfectly at that point. I have other things to be bothered about. All I'm going to be doing is I'm going from the center out to the point. That's pretty good. And if I can see if you can see that, my little blanket stitch, the outside edges are there, and it's just picked it. Now that one went over the thing, who cares? It should sort of look like that, but from a distance, look at that, how pretty. Look how pretty. A sunflower applique. Now I'm going to just do the exact same thing to my other one. Now, as I said before, I quite like my sunflowers, but they are on stems, and as you know, I love using my rickrack. I've changed my machine thread to green, and I've just taken a little bit of rickrack. I have a packet here of this one, and I'm not going to make a straight up and down stem. I'm just going to curve it slightly to there, and what I've done is I'm going to, with some sharp scissors, just make a little cut so it sort of just fits right into that little edge right there between the two leaves. And I'm going to be using a zigzag stitch, and I'm just going to stitch that down just a little bit crooked like that. And then what I'm going to do, because that's a raw edge, I have actually cut two, just freehanded, two little leaves, and I'm going to cover that. I'm going to take my paper off, and I'm just going to cover that rickrack like that. I haven't sewn my sunflower tulip row yet. I have just trimmed down my center block here to fit both top and bottom, which is the 9.5 inches. And then whatever it was in there, I haven't sewn this on, but I will do the 1/4 inch seam here when I go to sew it on, so I don't cut off the point of my tulip. I've sewed my tulip and my sunflower row block together on this seam here, matching up those points there. There's my sunflower block, and as you can see, I have chosen to do a large jumbo orangey bronzy color, pumpkin color rickrack. Okay, and then there's my next one. So how I did that, again, I have my I pressed this seam, and I've cut my rickrack, and I've set my machine to a very wide satin stitch, a very wide, the widest it can go pretty much. And then I just lay my rickrack. When you're using rickrack, you have to be very careful just to almost, again, relax it back so it doesn't pucker. Okay, I've already sewn this on, as you can see. That's nice and flat. That's lovely and flat. It's not puckered up at all. But if you pull this in the least, you're going to get your fabric over here all puckered up. So you just want to hold it tightly there on the seam. I'm just putting it on the seam, having it straight in front of me. My needle's right in front of me, and I'm just relaxing it. I'm just holding it, almost relaxing it back under the needle there, so it's not pulled at all. And then off. And as you can see, when I cut these, and then when I go to iron that is really lovely. I like the orange, I like that pumpkin color. It just brings a little bit of your eye to the applique block. So there's my lovely tulip and sunflower row block. I hope you enjoyed this bit of applique. So again, thank you again, folks. Love from the Trueloves.